MetaZoo's third set, Wilderness, is coming in just a couple of weeks at the end of the month. It's right around the corner. We're going to talk about print runs, new tribal themes, new cards, new mechanics, all kinds of stuff, special Terra. This is everything you need to know. Let's go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Argos Anonymous. I am Argos. Before we dive into the wonder that is Wilderness, a little shameless self-promotion. If you have found us from somewhere out there in the interweb and you don't yet know what we are, join us or consider. We are everything MetaZoo. Up-to-date accurate news and information, product openings, crazy shenanigans, news alerts, safety alerts, all kinds of random stuff. If that sounds like something you would like, then subscribe, and that's what you'll get. Wilderness is finally, it's almost here. What we're seeing with Wilderness is a slightly larger set than what we saw with both Cryptid Nation and Nightfall at 165 cards. Part of this larger set is that we now have 41 rares or golds instead of 39. We are still going to see some non-holo golds in Wilderness, which is something that they introduced in Nightfall, because some of the golds that were only available in a holo form and were not in every pack, like you couldn't get a gold in every pack in Cryptid Nation, were a little hard to get, so they made it a little bit easier in Nightfall. In Cryptid Nation, you had the Obnoxious 9. These were gold cards that were only available in a full holographic form, as opposed to a full holo and a reverse holo. Because there were a reduced number of variants, these cards were harder to get. In Nightfall, you had a similar form of card called the Unlucky 13. There were, yes, 13 of them. In Wilderness, you're going to have 7 cards that follow that same form. 7 cards that are only available in a full holographic form, not a reverse holo, and we're calling them the Wild 7. We don't yet know exactly what the Wild 7 are because it hasn't been spoiled, so we're just going to have to see what cards are not coming out as reverse holos. Most likely, the Wild 7 are going to be some of the most valuable cards in the Wilderness set. However, in the past, the most valuable cards are often not this class of card. For example, in Cryptid Nation, the most valuable card is Mothman, not one of the Obnoxious 9. Same with the Chaos Crystal. In Nightfall, the Wendigo is not one of the Unlucky 13, one of the most expensive cards. So looking at Wilderness, is it a shoo-in that the Wild 7 are all of the chase? No, absolutely not. But it's usually a shoo-in that the Wild 7 are some of the chasiest cards in the set. Once we know what the Wild 7 are, we'll make a video. The release date of Wilderness is March 31st. However, we have heard some whispers coming out of a couple distributors saying that there could be some small delay into perhaps the first week of April, something like that, for some products. I think the take-home message is that different people will be receiving things at different times. You have to consider the breadth of this logistical exercise that's taking place. Some people are going to get things right up front, some people are not. So have a little, if you have a good store you've ordered from, have a little bit of patience. They're probably trying. That said, don't let yourself get hosed, kind people of MetaZoo. If you ordered from a store and you're asking about a product and you're not getting any response, and a couple of months have gone by and you're not getting a response, and if you're approaching the chargeback window, protect yourself. Don't get hosed. You know, deal with stores that you trust. And if you're dealing with somebody new and you haven't heard back yet, and it's been a couple of months, maybe it's time to get your money back. Let's talk about the print run. The print run of Wilderness in the United States is 50,000 of each produced unit, or SKU, right? Compare that to Nightfall. There were 40,000 units of each product in Nightfall that were printed in the United States, and 10,000 units that were sent overseas. So when you look at Cryptid Nation 2nd Edition compared to Nightfall, the print run was significantly increased. Cryptid Nation 2nd Edition had a print run of 62,500 for the United States. So when I look at Wilderness having a 50,000 unit print run for the United States, and then a rumored 50,000 unit print run being sent all over the place overseas, you know, Canada, United Kingdom, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, stuff like that, what we're basically seeing is it's a little bit bigger than Nightfall. It's 10,000 units larger than Nightfall, but it's 12,500 units smaller than Cryptid Nation 2nd Edition. And it's a first edition set, and it's a new set. So my feeling is what they're trying to do basically is to have it get real close or to sell out, but not in a way that pinches the system and causes prices to fly up, which is what we're seeing right now. A lot of stores are listing at or near MSRP. Some are offering discounts. For example, at argosanon.com, we have pretty meaningful discounts if you buy a bundle of products. If you buy something that's, a spellbook and a release deck and whatnot, you'll get a discount on that. Other stores offer discounts on other random things, like maybe a discount on spellbooks, stuff like that. We're all a little bit different, but we're not seeing it liquidate like Cryptonation 2nd Edition. Even stores that came out of the gate in the past and put Cryptonation 2nd Edition at, like 2 cents a box. Some of those stores listed pre-orders just yesterday, and they listed it closer to MSRP than they did for Cryptonation 2nd Edition, which is a good sign. I think it means that the system isn't getting just immediately flooded. In my opinion, given the 10,000 unit increased print run of Wilderness compared to Nightfall, and the progressive growth of the collectible base and the player base, I think that Wilderness, personally, I think it's going to come in. Now, you still have a whole month of hype ahead of us, so who knows, but I think it's going to come in and then be gone sooner than we think. I think it's going to be available, which is good. I think if you want it, you can get it. That's fine. I'm not saying you have to go freak out and grab everything you can get. I'm not saying it's going to the moon either, okay? I'm just saying I think it's going to be gone sooner than some people think. Moving on to the artwork. Have you seen it? The spoilers coming out of Orlando are crazy. Now, first, a shout out. These cards, these pictures were provided by MetaZooHQ.com, which is run by a very kind, fantastic member of the MetaFam, Jody. Shout out to Jody. Thank you, Jodo. If you haven't been to MetaZooHQ.com, they have card lists, they have esoteric knowledge, they have all kinds of awesome stuff, so check it out. But I'm going to borrow these for the purposes of this informational video. Here we go. Look at that. We have dragons in Wilderness. There are multiple dragons, the Cumberland Dragon, the Dragon of Akanto Falls. We have the Iowa Dragon. Very cool. People are noting that the artwork of Wilderness is, in many people's opinion, is a step forward. I mean, everything has been awesome, right? Cryptonation was very unique. Nightfall came out and kind of blew people away. Wilderness is the same way. It's wild. You also have a Sasquatch archetype, which makes sense with the reintroduction of the Bigfoot. What you're seeing are tribal mechanics with Sasquatch. Sasquatch is definitely going to be a deck that people can play. You have chibi Bigfoots, you've got Bigfoots, you have a broad variety of big feet, you have a whole foot army. I noticed there are a lot of artifacts in Wilderness. First of all, we have what's, like in Magic, if you play Magic, you're used to something called the land cycle, which is where various sets that come out have different lands that help you, help you play the game. What we're seeing in Wilderness is a continuation of the Nightfall, what I'm going to call the Aurafact cycle. Sorry for putting so many more syllables in there than land, but it is what it is. Zero cost artifacts that produce aura, fine. They have 5 new zero cost artifacts that produce aura in Wilderness, and they are dual aura facts. I assume what they're trying to do is just continue the development of the diversification of the metagame, to let people craft new and interesting blends of aura types. On point with this also is a special aura in Wilderness, which looks like, to me, it's a contender for a Wild 7 card, just based on the way the artwork is structured. This special aura is insane. Look at this. You're limited to 2 per spellbook, but you can exhaust it for anything. Like any aura. That's crazy. So at this point in time, this is an auto include in every deck that isn't just a mono aura deck. Everyone is going to want 2 of these, which implies, because the player base is expanding, that this is a value card. This is definitely a chase card. If you pull this card, hang on to it, treasure it, study it, find out how it formed in the wild, try to capture it if you can so we can take a look at it. Let's get more of that. We have 5 sigil artifacts in Wilderness, which are also kind of interesting. I like artifacts personally. In MetaZoo, though, artifacts can be targeted, keep in mind. They can be destroyed. So sometimes the powerful effects you see on artifacts, just keep in mind, they are vulnerable. They can be blasted out of the sky with a spell. They can be attacked by a beastie. Fountain of Youth was a sample card that we saw a long time ago come out as one of those pre-release spoiler sample cards that MetaZoo put out. Fountain of Youth is, if it sticks on the field, look at that. That's a lot of life. And it's at the end of every single turn. It has a lot of life points, actually. Now, this is sometimes what people refer to as a win more card. That's the problem with life gain, right? Most of the time, if you're trying to gain life, you're not destroying your opponent and you're not destroying one of their threats. Right? You're just trying to hang on to the raft. If you can put it behind something and just manage to get it to stick, for a little bit, it's going to like dramatically change the game. People are definitely going to find a way to play this card because that is a lot of recovery. We have been given more playable tokens in the Wilderness set, which is something we first saw introduced in Nightfall, which is really nice. You don't have to go scribble around on paper quite as much. So a new diversity of tokens. Last but not least, we do have confirmation of chase cards in Wilderness. We haven't seen them. We don't know what they are. But at some point, it was confirmed that we could see serial chase cards, serialized chase cards. So like 1 out of 50, 1 out of 75, 1 out of 100, blah, 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 in Wilderness. We don't know how many. We don't know which product they're going to be in, but they're there. We did at one point see a flash screenshot of a X out of 100 serial. My assumption is that in addition to these, likely also continue the tradition of the secret rare in Wilderness. We also don't know what this is going to be. I would like to see Smokey the Bear. I think that would be awesome. Can you imagine if they would do that? I mean, they did Old Scratch. After Old Scratch, you can definitely do Smokey the Bear. If these serial chase cards look good, if these are good looking cards, if people want them, in my opinion, this is going to drive a significant amount of opening and chase into the Wilderness set. If these are not revealed until closer to release, in particular, there might be some sleeping on these products, and then people could jump into it. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see. Plus, it depends on where they are. If people are pulling them out of everything, that's one thing. But if people are pulling them all out of a certain type of product, like if they're all coming out of the release event boxes or they're all coming out of the booster boxes, which occasionally has happened in the past, then that's the item that's probably going to be targeted. And that's Wilderness. I'm so excited to see. There's a few cards we haven't seen yet. We kind of know what they are, but if you go to MetaZooHQ.com, they have 140 something out of 165. So they're not all with us yet. But pretty soon we're going to have the whole set. You're going to have these competitive teams start to deck build because the $250,000 Dallas-Fort Worth tournament at the end of May, unless that number changes, will be the Wilderness meta. So basically the person who wins is going to be the one who can race to the finish trying to unlock and decode the meta game after Wilderness drops. Very cool times. It's been a while since we've had a new set. I think a lot of people are really excited for this. I think a lot of people like the art for this. It's going to be fun. And then after this is UFO, which you, me, and everybody knows. People have been anticipating the Alien set for a long time. That's all I've got for now. Thank you, MetaFan, for stopping by. I always appreciate this opportunity to entertain the fine people of MetaZoo. This is Argos, signing out.